This is Hannibal here from HannibalTV.com, and I'm here with the man that most of you will remember as the Equalizer or EVAD, Dave Sullivan from WCW. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, sir. How are you doing? I'm doing well. Can't complain.
I'm doing great. You don't have to call me sir. You were one of the great stars of WCW. But to start this off, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your childhood and if you were a wrestling fan growing up.
Well, I first was a football fan because my dad played with the Colts back in the 50s with Johnny Unitas and all those guys. So I was born in Baltimore. So, I mean, I had a chance to be a big Colt fan. And believe it or not, a couple of his buddies wrestled back then in Baltimore. Was Don Joyce. And I can't remember another guy who played for the Colts wrestled. And they were a tag team. And so you kind of grew up a little bit with that. And so as we grew up, and then I ended up in Omaha because he got a defensive coordinator job there. Became a big fan of the AWA where Vern Gagne was. Strombo here, who's here today. I was a fan of his, and all the people that I used to watch when I was a kid growing up would come to Omaha all the time. So Omaha was a big area for the AWA growing up.
So I'm going to assume that you played football. If your dad was involved in football, how far did you get in that sport? Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. I got you back, buddy.
Okay. I do actually know that you played football. You mentioned before that your father was also a football player. Could you tell us a little bit about your football career?
Well, I played in Omaha. I played at Nebraska at Omaha there for Coach Buda. Was an offensive tackle, all conference, and got a chance to play with the Steelers for a little bit here with Chuck Noll and all those guys when all the great Steelers were at the end of their careers. But I was up there in camp with the Lamberts and all those guys. So it was quite amazing time in my life to be with all those great ball players that had a lot of success through the 70s.
And I understand you were also a wrestler before you got into pro wrestling as well. I think I'm just going to keep the second screen up because there seems to be a delay in the sound, but you also did some college wrestling?
Yes, I wrestled at UNO too, and it was a high school, third in the state, high school wrestler my senior year. And then wrestled my first 2 years there at college there. And then I just stuck with football just because I couldn't keep my weight on because of wrestling. So I just stuck with football after a couple of years.
And probably more chance of a scholarship in football too, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I did both, and I had a scholarship, but they moved more to football if I put weight on and all that stuff and be serious in the offensive line. So I just went that way.
How did you transition into professional wrestling?
Well, I was first when I got released in the NFL, I came back and I was starting to coach. I was in Topeka, and I met Harley Race in Kansas City, him and Bob Geigel. So I kind of started with them, and then Lynn Denton, I went up to Portland, and he took me on, and so developed my career up there with Lynn up there in Portland with Don Owens.
Yeah, I actually talked to Lynn Denton not too long ago. What was your experience like with him?
Oh, he's one of the best for me in the business. I learned a lot from him, and he's quite a human being. We had a lot of fun together, and it was a great time of my life to be up there with him and training with him and learn the business. And it's a good territory because you didn't have a lot of long trips, there were short trips, but you got to really understand the business well.
Where did you get the name The Equalizer from?
I think if I remember right, Harley Race and Bob Geigel kind of started it down there in Kansas City, and then I just kept with it.
Do you have any stories about Harley Race, such a legendary person?
Kid, I think I was a race car driver in another life, and we'd be going down the interstate about 90, 100 miles an hour. And I mean, Paul Orendorff was in the back seat praying. I'm sitting there going, okay. And he'd be smoking a cigarette, just crack window going, kid. I think I was a race car driver in another life.
Did you ever get
he was
to
Paul Orendorff kid too?
And he would usually be drinking while he was driving at those excessive speeds too, because it was accepted back then, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, nothing. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's times we'd be going through the mountains and he'd be taking those turns and curves. Both Paul and I'd be praying.
And he was actually in a couple of car accidents that were fairly serious over the years too, so he had a reason.
Yeah, he did. He did it near the end of it. Yeah, he did. He had a couple, one that really hurt his back and everything like that.
Did you ever get in the ring with him as a wrestler?
Only he managed when I was doing it, so I never had the opportunity to wrestle him. But I watched him as a kid and was amazing with how good of a worker and leader and how he could run a match.
When you were in the Pacific Northwest, was Billy Jack Haynes kicking around still at all?
Yes, he was. He was there. Yes, he was. Yeah, Billy Jack was there. He was part of the team and worked the territory with us when I was there too.
I've had him on a bunch of times. He's pretty popular on this channel. Do you have any stories about him? He was known to have a short fuse.
Yeah, he was always really good to me and calm. We always talked all the time in the locker room. I don't, maybe it was just my personality, but yeah, if somebody could get him fired up, you had to try to keep Billy calm so he wouldn't hurt anybody, because he could get fired up. But he and I got along really well. I always enjoyed my time with Billy.
Now, he has actually claimed that he was this huge cocaine dealer back in the day, and I know he has CTE issues.
Mm-hmm.
But did you ever notice anything like that he was some sort of big shot cocaine dealer on the side?
This is the first I've heard of it. Honestly, I never had a clue he was doing that. I'm not surprised, but I just didn't know anything. I don't know. Never was informed of that or saw that. No.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the CTE catching up with him or not, but he likes to talk that he was involved in all that.
The CTE and stuff, Billy does.
Yeah, he actually was part of that lawsuit against WWE that ended up getting thrown out of court related to all of that.
Okay.
How has your head been through all the football and years wrestling?
Overall, it's good. I don't notice anything other than I'm goofy once in a while, but I think that's just part of my personality. But I'm sure between football and wrestling, I've had enough shots to the head, but it's hanging in there.
What are some of your best lifts in the gym for, let's say, squat, bench press, and deadlift? Because I imagine with your height and size during your football days, you must have been pretty powerful.
Yeah, the best I think, if I remember, I did around 455, 460 on the bench with a pause, and then about 700 squat and about 650 deadlift.
Who were you feuding with mainly in that Don Owens territory?
A lot of it was Lenny. A lot of time they eventually turned me babyface, and I started feuding with him. Most of the time, it was early on. It was tag team, and we're feuding with the Dolls. I think they were called up then with those guys, and so we feuded with them for a long while. The Wrecking Crew versus the Dolls, and then eventually they turned me face, and then Grappler and I would be feuding.
And I understand you were part of the Catch Wrestling Federation as the Barbarian, I guess, over in Europe.
Yeah,
off and on for a while. How was that experience?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was great being there with all those guys, and meeting all the British and German wrestlers and everything like that. It's a little bit different style, but it was fun. It was a new experience, and you learn different ways to work and wrestle, and I enjoyed that. And most of the guys there are pretty class acts, so you toured together. It was kind of like almost being, like in a show, because you'd move to that town and then you do that whole tournament in that town, and you'd stay in that town. You wouldn't travel, then you'd travel the next town. So it was kind of like a circus. It was kind of cool. It was just different, and more of a family atmosphere.
And I guess they just wanted you to be called the Barbarian there, as they felt that gimmick would get over better than the Equalizer.
Yeah. Otto thought so over there in Germany and stuff like that, and they used that quite a bit. So, it was good work, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the time over there in Europe. And the fans were very, very much into wrestling and what they call catch. So, it was a good experience. Drank a lot of schnapps.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you get it bought for you by fans at least while you were over there?
Yeah, they're good. Those German and Austria were great fans, great wrestling fans. Yeah.
And of course, you spent some time in New Japan Pro Wrestling in 1991, where I guess you had a Tokyo Dome match against Scott Norton that was very high profile. How was your experience over there?
Good. I was Japan. They love their wrestling, as you well know. All wrestling fans do, but they like the big guys because they'd let you go nuts and chase them around the ring and all that stuff. And it was part of, you do that in America, you get in trouble. But over there, they loved it. So it was good, and I worked a lot with Scott up in the Portland territory, so we always had that's another one I had a good feud with, and I was a heel. So, it was kind of fun to work with Scott. Scott and I were good friends, too, and good lifting buddies.
How long did you last in New Japan overall? Was it a few years, or was it just mainly that feud?
No, I went back and forth there about probably 3 or 4 years with him.
Okay. Any stories about Scott Norton? We've had him on here recently.
He's a piece of work. That guy. We had a lot of fun. He just you go out with him and stuff, and it'd be interesting. And for some reason, they always wanted to fight Scott, and it was going, what? He's the biggest guy in the bar. What the heck you want to fight him for? We get it calmed down. But we had a lot of fun traveling down the road, telling stories and telling good lies.
Another guy that everyone always wanted to fight was Haku. Did you ever see him in action over the years?
Oh yeah, and I mean he could break us all. I mean the only guy I don't think he would even mess with would be the Giant. But yeah, I don't know why you'd want to fight Haku. I saw him do some things with the legs and his hits. I'm like, going, are you serious? He takes that time he took those 6 guys on. What the heck?
Yeah.
I mean, what? I don't know. Same thing. I'd go out with Rick Rude, and they'd always want to pick on Rick Rude. I'm like, going, he's a Gold Glove boxer. Excuse me. Why do you want to pick on Rick for?
Yeah, and Rick Rude loved to fight, I hear as well.
He did. Oh, he's looking for it. And for some reason, and I think there for a while there, he realized he needed to stop. So that one time I was with him, he was as calm as me, just at the bar. And that guy walked up and wanted to fight him.
What was Rick Rude like as a person behind the scenes for people that only know his character?
I personally, we went up and down the road a lot, so we got along, got along very well. I mean, he liked his 420, so that was always cool, and and he would always be relaxed. I mean, he and I got along in Orndorff. We traveled a lot together and got along real well. And I, of course, was always driving because I was a young buck, so there's no problem with me. But they're good people, and I always enjoyed the heck out of it. Sad that what happened to Rick. I feel bad for him and his family.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. Is the 420 legal where you are? Because it is here in Canada. I was actually having some.
Not in Nebraska. No, it's not. You got to go to Colorado or Illinois is where we're at.
I see. Now you also worked for the Global Wrestling Federation out of Dallas.
Yes.
We have a lot of fans in Texas on this channel. Any stories about that?
I mean, that was because I think Akbar was the what do you want to call it, boss at that time, running the show. And I mean, it was a booker. Thank you. I was looking for the right word. Got stuck there. But anyway, and that was interesting because it was kind of at that time dying down a little bit, but it was kind of fun because who were the 2 twins that played the twins that were WCW with me? Who?
Booker T and Stevie Ray.
Booker T, yeah. So that's when I first got to meet them working the Texas territory and became friends with them. So enjoyed they were characters, enjoyed being with them.
And Booker T ended up becoming a massive star, WCW.
Oh, big time. Big time.
In the WWE Hall of Fame now, too.
Yeah, he got inducted in. Yes, he did.
Did you ever expect that he would go as far as he did? And are you surprised Stevie Ray, given his size, I think he could have been a better heel as a single star than he ended up being.
Right. I mean, Stevie would always, we go to the gym together quite often, talk and everything like that. And I always thought he would be the big heel. And yeah, I don't know whatever happened with that whole thing after they quit being a tag team. He slowly died off, and then, the other one got to be a big star and in the Hall of Fame now.
Yeah, I don't know what the reasoning is, but I always wondered myself.
You tell me why these things happen like they do sometimes. I don't know. I mean, it's just weird, but they were a great tag team together. They worked well together. Stevie was enormous and strong. And he just, after they broke up his tag team, he never got a push.
Now, you had one of the most unique names, I guess, in the UK, American Hawkwind. Where did that come from?
Some British guy come up with that. British promoter come up with that. And, he just thought that would be something different off the Barbarian to do. So I just went out and worked and did my thing. Had some matches with good. I had a big feud over there with Steve Regal, because he was over there at that time with me and all that. And then worked some tags with Dave Finley and all that. So had a lot of fun. Learned how to be And again, that's different when you wrestle over there. Let's catch. It's just a different style. So it's good to learn other ways to work and stuff like that, which I really enjoy, just like Japan is too.
Are you surprised that Steve Regal now has such a good office position with WWE and he's got a lot of pull back there, considering where he came from?
I think it's cool because he took me to his hometown of Blackpool, England, when we were both young wrestlers, and it's amazing, what he's done and how well he's done. So I'm kind of proud of him because we always got along good. We're good friends, and when I was in England, he always took me around in places and showed me around in Blackpool and stuff. So I had a lot of fun going out with him.
What was your favorite city to go out in?
Which one? Which
Well, anywhere. Let's say you've wrestled all over the world. Where would you rate it? Maybe the top 3, let's say.
Tokyo, New York, and Munich, Germany.
Very interesting.
All 3 places. I come back, I didn't know where I was at, who I was. Maybe I did. Maybe I did have CTE.
Do you think, like a lot of these wrestlers from your time when the partying was more prevalent than today, if cell phones existed, where footage and pictures could come out easily, that they would have lasted as long as they did?
Oh, no. I mean, we couldn't – the wrestlers today could not do what we all did and the stories you heard about, because a lot of them are exaggerated, a lot of them are true. But I'm just saying, if you had selfies and cell phones like today, the office has been calling us in all the time, go, hey, you guys got to cut this stuff out. Because, I mean, it'd be wrong. They would be on your show or Facebook or Twitter or, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, because there's some stuff that you wouldn't want out there or your families to see.
And even Ric Flair, I understand he liked to get naked. If someone recorded that today, that'd be the end of it, as innocent as it might have been.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just Ric Flair. I think he liked being a stripper. So, I mean, he'd do that all the time. Yeah, if everybody had a phone, they'd been shooting him. It wouldn't have been good coming back to the office and stuff, especially when he was part of the office, too, as a booker when he was doing that.
Yeah, who brought you into WCW anyways?
Dusty Rhodes.
How did that come about? Did you send them a tape, or they saw you on Global?
And I was down in Puerto Rico working for Carlos, and he just called me up and said, "Hey, we want to bring you up here and do this gig with you. So when can you get here?" And so we got it worked out with Carlos. I finished there, and I came on up.
Speaking of Carlos, Ivan Santos, a fan wants to know if you could share some memories of working for him. And did you ever have pay issues that a lot of people ended up having with him?
Yeah, because the one thing I had that a lot of guys, I roomed with Dick Murdoch at that time when I was down there. And Dick was part of the booking committee, so he was always sure that I got, if he was late, Dick would help me out and get me paid. But yeah, there was times where he would, it was not good. But Dick being Dick's roommate, I kind of always helped me out in the corner because Dick was there's another guy that could put some beer down, boy.
Yeah. What was it like going out with him? I've heard the stories.
I mean, we'd go out. Old Dick could, he could drink that beer, boy. He'd sit there, come on, Nebraskan, you gotta go. You gotta hang with us, being old Texans and all this stuff and get going. And I think he put a good word in for me with Dusty too, because him and Dusty were tag team partners, and that's where I got my shot. But anyway, yeah, he just could. Once he started, he would drink into the night. I mean, nothing would put him in bed, and when he finally passed out, got him into his room. That'd be it. We'd see him later in the day, and then we go to do it. Then we go out and we'd hit another town and do a job.
I heard that before he passed away, he had a job where he was like representing beer companies, and he ended up getting in a few fights while doing that or something.
I can see that's Dick. I mean, that's a heck of a job for him to be in charge of a beer company.
Yeah, apparently it was to go around to bars and events and just give people beer and drink beer with them.
They're the better job for Dick. That's a perfect job for that man. Because he loved his Coors Light. He loved Coors Light.
Was it awkward or scary at all going down there? I know it was before the internet, but the Brody thing must have just happened.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I got down there and I was with Dick, and Dick said, "Hey, we'll be fine. Don't worry about it," because you kind of worry about that stuff. And I worked with those guys, so and they didn't do anything to me, but and Dick always took care. I think Dick covered for me a lot, helped me a lot in that situation, which was kind of a good guy to have a good man to have on my side.
Did you ever wrestle Invader while you were down there? The guy that ended up killing Brody?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I worked with him a whole program. Yeah. Him and Carlos both. So, yeah. And nothing ever was mentioned about it.
I heard that company quietly went out of business recently. I'm not sure if that's true, but I understand the Suns are going to be trying to start something new soon. So we'll see.
Trying to start up the territory there again.
Yeah.
Carlos's son or?
Carlos's son, Eddie.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I just read about that yesterday, actually.
Okay.
So as far as WCW, how did Dusty approach you and how did he present? I guess you started with Rick Rude managing you there, I think, with the Equalizer gimmick. How did he present that to you?
He just said he'd want me to come in and be that wild man and just keep doing what I'm doing and stay at the Equalizer right now. We'd take it from there and see what we do with you. And that's kind of how I got brought in. I worked those programs with him and Paul and all that stuff and got started in the business with those guys.
You worked with Road Warrior Hawk too. What was he like? He sounds like he was a pretty cool person to hang out with.
Yes, Hawk was quite a character. We went down the road with him some too, and he was always a gentleman to me. He's a good guy, easygoing, kind of relaxed. You hear all these stories, and you're like going, man. Sometimes they never acted that way around me. They're always gentlemen, and we had good talks and stuff. But I know Animal and him at that time. Animal and him are having his differences too, but hopefully they got that all figured out before all this happened. The ending happened and all that stuff with those two guys.
Oh yeah, I actually did an interview with Animal only months before he passed, and he did confirm that they were friends in the last years before.
That's good because they drew a lot of money together, and I'd hate to see them in like they were having their issues. They were having some issues when I was doing stuff with Hawk and stuff.
Now, of course, you also feuded with Dustin Rhodes a bit, who is still active here and there. Any memories of that?
Oh yeah, Dustin was funny. He not like his dad, but he had that same sense of humor his father did, and we did a lot of just. He'd always harass me and stuff like that, being from Nebraska and everything. Him growing up in Texas and Florida and stuff. And at that time, that's when the Cornhuskers did play good football before now. So that's back when they were winning national champions and stuff. So so they were always giving me a bad time. Now it don't matter. Right now, the way we're playing.
Speaking of Nebraska, I guess you must have known Baron Von Raschke over the years.
Yeah, he's from Omaha North. Yeah, he was one of him and what's his name that's from Omaha too, Koloff.
Ivan Koloff?
Yeah, we're both, Ivan's family still lives there, and so does both their families live there. And he was a great wrestler of Omaha North, and then went on and was an All-American for Nebraska at wrestling. And, I think it was Ivan's, or so, I can't remember the story, but how they sold the claw and everything, but started in a match, and then from then on went history for him. But great guys, both of them. Great people.
Funky Fresh Rhyme wants to know if you what was it like behind the scenes at WCW Saturday night? That was his favorite show, he says.
It was just like any show. It was a TV show that you just went in there and got prepared for it and did your thing, whatever they wanted you to do. But Dusty ran a pretty good thing, and then of course the guy that played my brother Kevin came in, and it was a very good booker, and then just everything was ironed out pretty well, and we went out and did our job.
Kevin is a great booker.
The one answer I can tell you is the time with Orendorff. That was the funny one.
Oh, tell me, please.
Well, we're sitting there in the locker room. And Paul's out of wrestling. He's helping the office, right? And he's setting up all the interviews and stuff for Saturday Night Live. And Vader came in, and he can be Van. I got along with Van, but he could just be Van sometimes, and he was being obnoxious. And Paul warned him, and he didn't listen to him. And all of a sudden, you see Paul turn around and just blast him. The only thing you see next is Vader hitting the ground. And then he had flip flops on, and he just started kicking flip flops, And Paul Olson comes out and he goes, "Man, Bill, I think I broke my toe." Oh, but that was one of the interesting TV shows.
I don't remember if you specifically wrestled Vader, but I heard he was very rough in there.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he could be. You just had to protect yourself, fan. You just had to be smart when you worked with him because he'd get a little carried away if you didn't protect yourself.
Did you get any wrestlers ever try and shoot on you over the years?
In Japan, a little bit, but that's about it. Not a whole lot in the U.S. or Germany or England or any of those other countries. Most in Tokyo, they tried. In Japan, they tried a little bit once in a while, but you just had to stay a little stiff on them and kind of get them so you're just working.
Now, a lot of people remember you best for your EVAD gimmick. How did they approach you with that, and who came up with it?
Kevin did. Kevin come up and said, I got an idea here, and he said, I want you to be my brother, my big brother that got lost, like Lenny in the story. So he kind of did that old kid story we all kind of grew up with, and that's how we kind of started it and grew from there.
Matt R. wants to know whose rabbit were you using, or were they bringing new ones every town?
It was they got me a rabbit, and I took care of it. And then I gave it back away when I quit the gimmick and stuff and got out of there.
Oh, I see. Did you have kids that played with it?
Yeah, they play with it and stuff. Yeah.
Now, what was the booking team like? Was it mainly Kevin controlling things in those days?
Well, he had a group of us. Kevin, the gentleman down in Florida, I can see his curly hair. His dad was a great wrestler down in Florida too, and Booker that ran the Florida territory. Graham.
Oh, Mike Graham.
Mike Graham, yes. I'm trying to remember the names. And of course, Greg Gagne was there, and so it was Kevin, Dusty, Greg, and Graham that kind of ran the booking, and then Paul kind of came in later and started helping out too with that committee and everything.
I see. As far as stories about Kevin, he's very popular on this channel. Is there anything you could share with us?
Kevin's just Kevin. You love him. You love him. He's straightforward, honest. He was always, always good to me. We always got along real well. He would tell stories and stuff. And at that time, his kids were all growing up. Mine were younger than his, but his were all getting older. So I got to know his family and everything. He was just, he's kind of got a little evil side to him, but it's a business evil side. And it's kind of cool. He's a great idea guy. Great guy. He comes up with great ideas all the time.
Oh, I agree. It's too bad they don't use his ideas as much as they should these days.
The wrestling business, I mean, I watch every once in a while. I don't know if you call it wrestling anymore.
They call their wrestlers in WWE now storytellers, so they call it like storytelling, I guess. I don't know.
Can you tell me what story they're telling?
A boring one for sure. Michael Collins has a football question for you about the Colts. He wants to know if you want Belichick to break Don Shula's win record or not.
Oh, I mean that's what records are there for. I'm sure if he has an opportunity, he'll do it. We'll see. We'll see if he can do it without Brady. That's the big question now.
Donnie Wilson wants to know if you still have the boots that Hulk Hogan gave to you.
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, still do.
What did you think about that angle idea? I assume that was also Kevin's, where you were the number one Hulkamaniac and you were working with Hogan, which he was just coming off his big WWE run at that time.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of Kevin's kind of put that together, and Hogan agreed to it, so we went with it. Yeah.
How did Hogan treat you?
Okay. I mean, he treated me like he treats everybody else, kind of, I think. Kind of standoffish.
Even when you were tag team partners with him?
Yeah.
Now, for someone like Hulk Hogan, you always hear he liked to just call it in the ring. When you were doing tag matches with him, was it similar to that, or did you plan things out?
We didn't plan a whole lot, just a little, and we went in and did it with whoever we're working with. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, we did it because we're with a lot of veterans, so it was all done pretty much. Other than the finish was done in the ring.
And of course, one of those teams that you feuded with was usually Ric Flair with another opponent. What was it like being in the ring with Flair?
Oh, Ric Flair could work a broom. I mean, just like a lot, like Strombo, a lot of great workers could. They didn't matter. You just had to listen and pay attention and do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it and carry the ball.
What did you think of him as a person? Did you guys get along?
Yeah, we did. I mean, you hear all this stuff about Rick and stuff, but I got along with him. And maybe I'm just easy to get along with, but I mean, you hear other people just slam him, but I mean, I don't have nothing bad to say about Rick. I mean, I got along with him and worked with him, and he was never bad to me.
Are you surprised, considering WWE around that time used to make fun of WCW for Ric Flair being old, and now in 2021 they still use Ric Flair all the time, and he's probably their most over performer they have still?
And that's can I ask you a question? What does that say about the business?
Yeah.
I mean, you tell me, you interview us all, you talk to us all. I mean, you hear a lot of the stories off and off the cuff on the TV or on the cuff. You tell me what that says. Nothing against Ric Flair, but what does that say?
Yeah. Well, it'd be like for a Nitro if they'd brought in wrestlers from the 60s to pop a rating, which you couldn't even imagine happening, but that's what's happening now.
I know it. So what does that say with the talent now?
The legends also draw the best ratings, as you said, because I guess maybe because there's no territories and they're all learning to work from the same performance center. Maybe it's just the passion isn't there. I don't know. There's no Dick Murdoch characters anymore. I know that.
I think the people miss all that. I think they miss the territories and everything. I really do. And I think New York's kind of squashed that a little bit, and I don't know if that's good for wrestling, because everything's the same all the time and nothing's different. And I think you need that. People need variety.
Yeah, they had said that AEW was going to be more old school, but it ended up being not really much different at all from what's going on in WWE, unfortunately.
No, you're absolutely right. You're right. I mean, it started out like it was going to be like that. Now it looks like the same dang thing. You're watching the same thing, just a different network.
Michael Collins, you're probably going to find this one funny. He says the Wrestling Observer gave you the award for worst gimmick and worst wrestler in 1994. How did you respond? I can't tell you, as a kid, I really liked your gimmick. I was like maybe in grade 6 or 7 at the time, and I thought it was great.
Hey, I'm Hogan. I heard they said the same thing about Hogan one time too, one year. So I mean, hey, they just call it. You just live with it and move on. Yeah, don't worry about it. Nothing you can say about it, good or bad. It's part of the business.
Len McDaniel wants to know if WCW made any merchandise for you, and if so, did you get royalties? Because we always hear WCW wasn't always fair with their royalties.
No, I mean they did, but I never got any royalties from them. No.
Chris Norman would like to know how it was working with Brian Pillman.
Good. He was an ex-football player too. I mean, he played nose guard and nose tackle. So I like Brian a lot. It's too bad what happened to Brian, because I think he should have been a great wrestler for a long time. I really think he had a great niche for it, a good mind for it, and I think he would have had a great career if he wouldn't have died so young. That's really sad. You
teamed with Sting as well during that time where you were doing the Hulkamaniac gimmick. How was Sting?
I always got along with Steve Borden. I mean, I always got along with him. He's a good guy. He's probably one of the easiest going guys I knew in the business. I mean, he was always friendly, easy to work with, easy to do stuff with, always listen, talk to you. Good guy.
And as you mentioned, WWE has Ric Flair, AEW has Sting.
I know. I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like going, and that's what's drawing. I'm like going, you guys, who's ever booking needs to start looking at some younger people and getting them over.
Well, maybe they should bring back You Against Dustin. I'd actually tune in for that.
Let's two old farts fall down and almost kill each other at the end.
Now, as far as WCW, you also work with Big Bubba Rogers. How was he in the ring?
Great. Bubba's, I'm sure you got to know Bubba before he passed and everything. He's one of my best. He was a good friend of mine. I always liked Bubba. He was a lot of fun. Good old Georgia boy.
He died very suddenly, too.
It was a shock. Yeah, it was terrible. I felt bad for his family and everything when he passed. too bad. He's very nice and good. His family was a wonderful family. I got to his do some hog hunting and all that stuff, and he was a trip to be with.
You also did an angle with Kimberly Page and Diamond Dallas Page where you were in love with Kimberly, who was definitely a beauty at that time.
Yeah, she was. She was quite a good-looking gal. Yeah,
How was that experience?
It was different. It's just different. That stuff, to me, when you're being trained and how to be a wrestler, and everything, you don't really worry about that kind of stuff. So it was a little bit different.
DDP, you always hear that when you wrestled him, he would really like every move planned out in a match. Was it like that in the ring with him?
Yeah. DDP wanted everything. Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't a call the ring guy. No, he liked everything logically planned out through the whole match. The heat, everything.
Have you been tempted at all to try his yoga for all your injuries over the years?
I work out and train and flexibility on my own. I mean, I have a CSCS, so I have a training background and exercise, and all that. So I think I'll be fine. I don't need the yoga class. It's good that he's doing that, but I don't have any interest in it. Do you do it?
I have done it because he gave it to me free, and I've been enjoying doing it, but I understand your point of view. But right now in Canada, where I live, we're still on lockdown.
See, isn't that weird? Because we've been back in the gym since April.
Yeah, so I'm limited. So yeah, I have been doing yoga.
Well, that makes sense. If you get nothing else to do, probably what you do. How come you guys are still in lockdown?
Because they've only vaccinated about 3% of people in this province, and they really screwed it up, sadly.
Oh wow, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm dying to get back in the gym. I got my own stuff, but as you know, it's not the same.
It's not getting back in the gym and working out. No, it's not. It's because when we were in quarantine there about 4 to 6 weeks, that was a pain in the butt working out at the house all the time.
Yeah, we got till the end of July, so I'm not
Oh, really?
looking forward to it. Yeah.
Holy cow.
It's not fun.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Donnie Wilson wants to know if you ever got in any fights with any wrestlers who you didn't like.
I can't say I didn't like them, but on the back, I've had with one other person, yes.
Yeah, you seem like you'd be a difficult guy to have heat with in the back.
Yeah, he was. This guy, Lynn Dent, can tell you about it. He'll tell you it was the stupid on the other guy's part.
I see. What country was that in?
It was in Portland. It was in the territory. It was back on TV night.
Here's a funny question from Dennis. Who was better in the ring, Elegante or Ron Reese of the Giants? Or El Gigante?
Oh, that's a toss-up, isn't it? I don't know. You'd have to flip a coin on that one.
What were you thinking, like, when you had to wrestle him? And for the fans that don't know, he was also Giant Gonzalez.
Right.
That doesn't seem like a night you'd be looking forward to.
No. I don't even know. I think even Ric Flair would have a tough one on that one.
Mike wants to know if you think Bischoff was the right guy to lead WCW.
No. I think when that happened, I don't think that was good. He had no background. He was an announcer. He never had a background to run it. I think he just pulled it off and got that job. And then when Hogan came in, he got all those rights. And I think that's where it all went kind of south.
So you felt the politics. I know it got worse after Hogan came in when Hall and Nash, and then you had all those cliques backstage. What was the atmosphere like back there in those days? It
was tense. I mean, it just wasn't relaxed just because you had all those people making decisions and not one person kind of guiding the decisions. It was this decision. I think it was really hard on Kevin quite a bit, trying to control it all, and then he eventually lost control. I mean, it was just hard. It was difficult. Too many voices.
Is there a particular match from your WCW days that was your favorite?
God, that's a good question. probably when I tagged with Rude and we worked Davey Boy, and I can't remember who Davey Boy's partner in the house count a couple times. That was a lot of fun. We had good matches. I can't remember who Davey was tagging with at that time. It's been a while. Maybe that's my CTE. I don't know. But anyway, but it was a lot of fun working with Davey Boy and that part. And we had some good house shows. And I really enjoyed the heck out of it.
What were the house show crowds like for your time in WCW overall?
They were, the runs when we were going through, we had great houses at that time. We really did. And I think it was fed off the Saturday Night Live TV and all that stuff, but we had very good houses.
Was it like WWE where you got extra pay for house shows, or was it all included in the contract?
All included in the contract.
Okay. So I guess you had, a 3-year deal?
Yeah.
So did it just run out, or was there a specific reason why you left?
Oh, I just kind of ran out, and so I went back to doing territories and what do you want to call it for a while. The freelance, what you see nowadays. I went to territory, did some things, and finished up that way before I completely retired.
Mike wants to know, when you left WCW, did you think it would end up closing in 5 years?
Well, you had your nerves worried about. You did kind of, because there's too many voices in there, and you could see that starting to happen. And then when Benoit kind of left and booked, and all those incidents went down, then they brought those guys in, and they went all NWO, and it was you could just tell it was not heading the right track. So when Vince buy it for a quarter?
Yeah, like almost $2 million, maybe, or something, $4 million, something, practically nothing.
That's less than Hogan's salary.
Yeah, that's true. Winters Layer wants to know what your thoughts were on the NWO.
Oh, I think when it first started out, it was very, very good. I think they had the right plan. I think it looked good. It looked real. I think it was getting over strong. They were getting big houses and good TV. I think when they started letting everybody be in it, I think it watered it down. And then you didn't have any faces really to get after. And I think it just kind of started, going down. And then when they turn around, they kind of how they beat Goldberg kind of hurt that too, because he was drawing a lot of houses too. And I think those two things together started the spinning needle going down.
And I just looked it up. I guess Vince bought the WCW name and logo for $2.5 million, and he bought the videotape library for 1.7. So 4.2 million total.
All that NWA stuff he bought for 1.7. All those years of all those matches, all the Starcades, everything.
It's crazy.
You got it for nothing.
Paul wants to know, when you started wrestling, how stiff were the rings? Did you wrestle in stiff rings?
Yes. That's one thing we had in Germany. Germany was very stiff rings. You take a bump. You could ask Fit Finley or any of those guys. When you take a bump in Germany, your teeth would rattle once in a while. It was like a true boxing ring sometimes. You know how stiff those are.
Yeah, I've wrestled in a few of those over the years for sure. So I'm glad you definitely have to be trained how to bump properly once you wrestle on those regularly.
You do, because you feel it the next day, the first time you do it, until your body gets used to it.
Did you ever work with Macho Man during your WCW run?
No, I don't think I ever did. Never had the opportunity. We traveled with him a lot, but never worked with him. But always thought a lot of old Macho. He was a good guy.
You have any stories about him from traveling?
Well, he never changed his voice.
Really?
Oh yeah, we'd be going down the road, and he'd go, "Dave, Evat, right over there. Take a ride over." And I'm like, "When you're in the car with me," and I think it was Bagwell or somebody else in the car, and he's giving directions in his, "Oh yeah," all that stuff. And I'm like going, "Okay." And Bagwell goes, "He does that all the time."
I clicked on the wrong button there. But Mike wants to know, were you ever with ring rats?
Well, that's not a good thing to ask. What do you guys think?
I think they know the answer. One thing I will tell you is there's a lot less of them today than when you were wrestling.
Really?
Yeah. That's not part of the business really anymore. They're few and far.
You had them in every town, buddy.
Yeah. Now, as far as your favorite town to wrestle in, you said your favorite town to go out in. What would be like your top three favorite towns to actually have matches in?
I'd say, you got to put New York up there. And then, of course, Atlanta. I always thought that was a good shoot. Charlotte was big, too. Charlotte was always a great town to wrestle in. And then, of course, Tokyo. Tokyo was always exciting.
John wants to know if it's true you got heat for looking, quote unquote, too much like Hogan in WCW.
I think so. I can't help how I look.
I see. Yeah, no, you can't. But I guess you just heard that back through rumors, through your friends.
Yeah. I think Spivey did too when he was working with that situation too. I think he had the same thing Dave did.
Yeah, in WWE in those early years.
Yeah.
Lion 2012 wants to know if you've ever had the chance to visit Canada, and if so, which part. He loved your work in WCW.
I always liked Toronto. The King talked right. Toronto. I always liked Toronto, and Ontario was a nice town too.
Very good. Well, that's where I am. So that's a good
town.
Not Ontario, not Toronto, but Ontario.
Yeah, Ontario's a great town too. I always liked that a lot.
Don wants to know
everywhere I go.
Yeah. Don wants to know if you were to become a wrestling promoter and buy a wrestling promotion, what would your plans be?
I would try to bring back what we used to see, a lot more heat, a lot more stories. Get the heels going, stories, heat. When you got all this history of all these great stories in all these towns, and nobody's using them. And I think that's really the first thing I'd do.
Nikki wants to know what was the worst territory for payoffs.
Puerto Rico.
As mentioned, I guess your WCW pay was probably pretty good considering you didn't work. Is it true you didn't work all that much in WCW?
I did. I had travel. There was one day I worked like 295 days a year. 1 year.
And when you left WCW, you ended up coaching football a little bit. How was that experience?
Oh, I wrestled for a while. Then I got out in 2001, and then I got back into coaching. It was different. It was kind of fun. It was exciting, and working with kids again. So, I mean, I enjoyed doing that and helping them get better football and trying to put a plan together, and enjoyed coaching again and recruiting and dealing with kids.
You mentioned earlier that you rode with Bagwell in the past. I'm sure you've heard about his recent troubles. He had like 15 or 16 charges last week, multiple hit and runs. I laugh about it, but it's just amazing that he didn't die or kill anybody.
Is he in jail right now? Or, I mean, I just heard the story when it broke. I don't know what's going on with it or anything.
He was released, I believe, on only a $4,000 bond or something.
How do you get away with that?
I don't know, but he's out. He made a video since he's been out. But do you think he's salvageable? Because last year he crashed his vehicle and had charges out of that too. And now we're a year later.
I can't believe he can get car insurance. I can't believe
he can get his license back.
I know it. Either one, both those things, get car insurance or his license back. Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know. He must be having a serious issue with alcohol right now, it sounds like, and all that stuff, which isn't good. I know he's recovered it once from it, but he's went right back to it. Now he needs some serious help.
Did you ever work with Steve McMichael, and have you heard about his disease that he has right now?
No, I didn't. He was part of course, the WCW. I never worked with him, but traveled with him and his wife at that time. I was a big fan of his when he played for the Bears, but what disease does he have?
I'll look it up, but he's wasting away right now. Ric Flair put some pictures with him. Let me look it up here.
Never got to work with Nick.
It's pretty Lou Gehrig's disease.
Oh no,
Yeah.
That's a nasty disease. There's nothing they can do for you. There's nothing they can do for you when you get that. That's sad.
No, he's lost all of his weight too, unfortunately.
Oh God.
I'll put up a picture of him for you. That's what he looks like now.
Holy cow.
So, yeah, it's sad to hear. There's a fan that wanted to know what your actual legitimate height is.
6'4".
6'4". Okay, because they often build you as 6'6", I believe.
Yeah, they did. That's because they always do that because they want to make everybody taller, I think.
Someone wants to know, what was your favorite finisher?
Oh, probably the full Nelsons. When I did that a lot in Germany, I enjoyed that.
Did you ever have kids, and would any of them ever get into the professional wrestling business?
Oh yeah, I've got children. No, matter of fact, 2 of them are coaching and doing very well down in Arkansas. And one's an offensive coordinator, the other one's the offensive line coach. And one played at Tulsa, and one played at Arkansas. So, and the other ones are working regular business jobs and stuff like that. But those 2 ended up not going coaching. They both played college ball, but they both ended up going back into coaching.
A fan on here is commenting that John Nord has the same disease as Mongo. Did you know John Nord at all from WCW?
Well, I did not even know he had ALS. No, I did not. I think we were talking about him tonight, and I did not know that. We knew he had some issues, but we didn't know he had that. Not at all. No, yeah, I know John very well. I worked with John in the Portland territory many times.
Yeah, I hope that he's got his act together a bit more. I heard he's in a retirement home or something now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Where at? In
Minnesota.
Oh my God. I didn't know, because I talked to Lenny. I guess I need to talk to him. I didn't know he was in a home. I knew when Lenny told me he was having issues. I didn't realize it was ALS.
Brendan wants to know if there's anyone in the wrestling world you stay in contact with.
Oh yeah, I still stay in contact with Finley quite a bit. And then I'll talk to Kevin every once in a while. But Finley I still talk to quite often, and Dave Taylor and people like that I work with the WCW in England and stuff with. And so those who I mainly stay in contact with.
Fart Doctor wants to know if you had heat with Horace Hogan. I don't think you were.
Who's Horace Hogan? Who's Horace Hogan?
You don't even. Yeah, he would. It's Hulk Hogan's nephew that came into WCW after you had left, I believe.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about now. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Fart Doctor. I like that one.
So yeah, there's no one you really stay in contact with out of wrestling.
Just
other
Finley.
than those 3.
Yeah, Finley and those 3. Yeah, I mean, those are my close ones. Great to meet you. They were close. I mean, you look through your life too as you get older. The ones that you were the closest with as you traveled and stuff, and those guys. The other ones have passed away, like Rick Rude, and I haven't talked to the one I was always good friends with too was Paul Orndorff, and I should probably try to contact him because Paul was a good person, a good friend when we traveled. But a lot of the guys I travel with aren't here no more.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but Paul Orndorff is in the beginning stages of dementia as well. So yeah, you might want to talk to him soon because his ability to communicate and remember your conversation will be less and less, sadly.
Sorry. He was I love Paul. That's what I'm saying. A lot of the guys I travel with aren't here no more.
As a heel, do you have any advice for wrestlers out there?
I talk to Lenny
being
Denton
a good heel.
I talk to Lenny Denton all the time too, the grappler.
Oh, of course, yeah.
What did you say again, sir?
For being a heel, do you have any advice for wrestlers? We have a lot of wrestlers that watch these for how to be a good heel.
Yeah, tell a story. Tell a story. Make it look real, but not be real, but make it look real. Tell a story, and don't watch TV. Don't watch just what you're seeing on TV all the time, because they've got away from what wrestling is. And you need to go back, and heels need to tell the story, call a match, give the babyface a couple of high spots, and then work the match and listen to the crowd. Be a psychologist.
Someone wants to know, and you don't have to answer this, but did the road bring out any vices in you, or did you keep yourself together fairly well?
I kept myself together pretty well. I mean, I we all drank and stuff, and of course I did some 420. I can't do it with you right now because I'm not in a state legally to do it. But,
Yeah.
but those 2 things, but that's about it. I never got any of the drugs or anything like that, no.
Pool Hustler wants to know, how was Chris Benoit backstage?
I traveled all over with Brent. I mean, with Chris. Chris and I were very good friends. We traveled, of course, in Germany. We were on the same circuit 2 years in a row. We traveled Japan, and then we both started about the WCW together at the same time. So Chris and I loved him. I mean, he was like, he always come up. He was quiet and easygoing. What happened there, and of course, at that time when I was in the WCW, Nancy was married to Kevin. And that's how I, got to know Nancy, because she was with Kevin at that time, my tag team partner. And and Chris was married to a gal out of Germany he'd met when we were all over there wrestling. And so, that whole thing just tears my heart apart. I mean, I remember when that happened, I was on the road seeing a customer, I think in Nebraska or something, and they said, "You see what happened to Chris Benoit?" And I just pulled up the TV, and my heart just sunk. I just can't imagine what would take him to that peril in his life. But I feel bad for everybody. I feel bad for Nancy, the little boy, all of them. It's just sad. But I knew him always as a gentleman. We traveled everywhere together.
Mark would like to know, who was your favorite and least favorite opponent?
My favorite? God, there's a lot of favorites that I worked with through my life that I liked and enjoyed. Favorite?
Terry, what does that look like?
Probably be Dave. Probably be the two. My favorite would be Len Denton and probably Dave Finley, because I worked Dave over there, and it was like clockwork with him. Worst ever? Ooh, I'm trying to think. A lot of greenhorns that I went through when I got older. That was tough to move with. I was as slick as old Rick to get him to move like a broom. So there were some times you had some tough ones, but I'm trying to think who they are right off the top of my head, and I can't. That's a good thing I can't remember the bad ones. I won't put nobody down then.
Someone asked earlier who was the stiffest opponent. Would have been someone probably that you don't even remember?
It's somebody over in Japan. I couldn't even probably pronounce her name. Yeah, just at Tokyo, somebody over there that I've worked, that I just met, and we worked for by far the stiffest.
Dennis wants to know if you ever worked for the AWA.
A little bit. Got to know. That's how I got to know Greg and everything. I worked a little bit for them near their end times and stuff, and got to know Vern a little bit. And then, of course, I became friends with Greg. I like Greg. I haven't talked to him for a long time, but I always liked Greg.
As far as Hulk Hogan, there's a fan that wants to know, when Hulk Hogan brought in all of his friends to WCW, did that bother you at all or affect you?
Not really. It just, you could just tell that he had more leverage than any other wrestler in there. You know what I'm saying? You could tell in the locker room, could tell that too. And that's kind of what I think, I think that's when the bookers really lost control, is when he had that power of attorney in his contract.
I see. As far as on the road, your diet, did you keep a pretty strict diet on the road, or did you just eat whatever you wanted?
I tried to do it the best I could. It's hard on the road. Even now when I go on the road for work too, it's never great to eat on the road, and it's hard, but you do the best you can. I mean, it's just, you get on the road, it's just hard. You don't always have a restaurant open and can order the right thing. You just got to make do with what you got.
Someone's asking if you ever worked Don Morocco.
No, he was a little bit before my time as far as in the WCW, the WWE. So I never got a chance to work. I knew of him, and I never got to work with him though.
I see. As far as your regular job now, what are you doing for a living?
I am a sales manager for Sideline Power, and we work with high school and college football teams on headsets, in-zone cameras, laser down markers, all kinds of different stuff that we supply for game nights for football, for high school and college.
How big is college football in Nebraska? I was at a high school football. I was at a high school football stadium in Texas not too long ago, Allen Stadium.
Oh, that's incredible.
It was huge.
$60 million on that for high school.
Oh, you know about it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's good in Nebraska, but nothing. Texas is by far the king of football in high school in the United States. I mean, at Allen's Field, it was over $65 million to build that for that high school.
It's by far better than any college football stadium in Canada, and bigger.
Unless you get to the big colleges like Alabama, Nebraska, the big schools, that's one of the best stadiums in any college, let alone high school. It's incredible.
Yeah, I was in their amateur wrestling room too there because Charlie Haas, a former WWE guy, runs the amateur program, and they actually have double thick amateur mats too.
Oh,
so you
wow.
don't feel the throws as badly, which is amazing.
That is amazing. That's cool.
Someone wants to know who you think is going to win the college national championships next year.
Well, I'd first bet on Alabama. I mean, he's won 6 out of the last 13 or 12 years. I mean, he'll be in there. I mean, you got to look at them. Clemson would be the top 2, and then probably Ohio State, one of those 3 teams. So I'd put to win it, but I'd still say if you want to win it, you still got to go through Alabama, through Nick Saban and that Crimson Tide. What are they saying down in Alabama? Roll Tide.
Yeah. Someone wants to know how was catering in WCW when Bischoff was in charge.
Yeah. Catering, it was all good. I had no complaints. We got fed.
Brendan wants to know if you saved any wrestling memorabilia from your career. You mentioned the Hulk Hogan boots earlier.
Yeah, that's about it. I didn't save a whole lot, removing and changing and stuff like that. I don't. I get a lot of stuff from other people that help me so I sign autographs and can sign things for people and everything because I want to be a good respect for the sport and everything and to its fans.
When you were in WCW, did they cover your hotel costs?
No, only if we went overseas.
Okay. Did you ever wrestle Hugh Morris in WCW by any chance?
I might have. What gimmick was he?
The Laughing Man, Hugh Morris, I guess.
Oh, I don't think I ever wrestled him. No, I know he is, but I never wrestled him.
Russ wants to know if you ever worked any of the Canadian territories.
No, I never did. I knew a lot of the, I was friends with the Hearts and all that stuff like that. And Owen and I were good friends because he worked in Germany a lot with me and stuff like that. And so, because when you work in Germany, you become like a family because you're all there together in that little caravan, and then you move to the next town. So you become that's how I became good friends with Chris because he's Canadian, and also Owen Hart.
What were your thoughts about the tragic way he passed?
I don't know if there can be a worse way to go. I mean, my God, to watch yourself fall 60 feet in the air to a ring post, and you see it coming the whole way. I don't know. There's some things that's happened during that time, about 8 to 10 years, that just really shake your head at, like, what's going on. Some really weird stuff.
When you were in WCW, did they give you like an agent for a match like they do today, where the agent will like pretty much choreograph a match with you, or would it just be something like Kevin Sullivan would give you a general direction and you guys come up with your own?
Exactly what happened. Kevin or Mike Graham or Greg Gagne would come in and usually give us an idea what they want the match to go in the finish, and then they let us do it. Yeah.
AJ wants to know if Owen ever ribbed you.
Oh yeah. He used to, because I'd come in, I'd go on late nights in Germany, and he's there with his wife, and I'd come back and I'd about knock the door off because I couldn't see. So he always called me Sasquatch, and then he'd close the door when I was trying to get it and do stuff to me all the time. Like that, he got the big charge out of me. Owen had a good sense of humor on how to rib, but it wasn't bad ribs. It was just funny ribs.
Did Kurt Hennig ever play any ribs on you, or did you?
No, thank goodness, because I seen him do some nasty ones to some people. So I mean, shave eyebrows while they were sleeping and all that stuff. So I mean, yeah, Kurt was, but he never did that to me. Thank goodness.
Yeah, he inadvertently caused the thing with the Rougeos and Dynamite as well.
Oh yeah. You're right. You're exactly right on that.
Was Dynamite in the Pacific Northwest at all when you were working that territory? Because I know he would wrestle there from time to time.
He came in from some certain shows for the Saturday night shows. Every once in a while, he'd come in there because Rowdy'd have him come in there and do a show and do a couple things. He was an interesting character, but he reminded me like a normal English. You just their sense of humor is a little bit different, but it's good. Tim
wants to know if you ever worked for Bill Watts.
Well, yeah, because he was part of the WCW, even though he was Dusty's booker, but he was still running the company. That's who Bischoff took over for.
Okay, so you were around for that era.
Yeah, because Eric was in charge, and then Dusty was his booker.
Maybe you can answer this question, and I know we're almost out of time, but were you there for Eric Watts' supposed fight or wrestling match with Rick Rude.
But I don't remember it.
Okay.
I mean, I wish he was alive to tell the story. Rick.
Yeah, because it sounds weird that supposedly Eric got behind him or something, but I've never actually heard a firsthand account of someone that saw it.
I remember the account when he's talking about, but I don't remember any of that stuff what he says. I don't remember it like that. Nothing against Eric, but I like Eric, but I just don't remember it. And I wish Rick was here to really, because you can say that he can't defend himself or say what really happened either. He can't give his side.
As far as Bill Watts, he was known as kind of a tyrant, but you seem like the type of guy that he would have liked. So how was your experience with him?
It was good because I was an ex-football player like him because he played at Oklahoma and I was up at Nebraska at Omaha, but still it's college football. So, and I played a little bit in the NFL. So there was that bond there. So he was always, and his son played college. So Eric played with Louisville as a quarterback. So he was always, I got along fine with Rick. He was a tyrant, but heck, when you play football, you're around all those guys that are like that. That's your normal coaches.
You know who I don't get along fine with? You, Hannibal. Once again, you've taken one of my star clients' time. You've stretched, you've used it and abused it. Yeah, you better take a big puff of that E6.
Can you share?
I have to because I don't want to listen to you.
Oh, well, you know what?
I just want to laugh at you.
I felt the same way. And you know what? I've got some connections, and I got some people out in Texas that are calling me. You know what they're doing? They're calling me, and they're telling me to
begging you to help smooth things over so I can come back and pull them out of the gutter.
Oh, boy, you said that. I didn't. Well, you know what I'm going to say? Good